One thing you want to take note of, the reason that we cut this a little bit oversized is to count for this, because we want this to be 1.5 inches. We cut it a little bit thicker so that now it's going to be able, we're going to be able to plane it down to 1.5 inches. One key note that you want to do, all this is very dense wood, and it's a very wide board, and we're pushing this planer to the maximum. Your planer might be a little bit different, but take extremely light passes. You don't want to take anything more than about, if you can, just 1/64 of an inch. And it might take you a few passes to go through it, but take your time and you'll wind up with a beautiful board. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, when you get done, you should have a nice, even board all the way across. Everything should be nice and tight. If you look closely, I've got a little bit of gap here on one of my strips of walnut there, but everything else looks pretty tight. You can barely see some of the transition lines, and it even makes the contrast even that much better. On the other side, it looks just as good. Everything looks real nice. So the only thing was I didn't quite give myself enough stock material to remove, and what wound up happening was I left myself a 1/16 of an inch on both sides, but I still didn't get quite enough, and the top is not 1.5 inches thick. It's 1 inch and about 7/16 inch thick, which is fine. I mean, if I'm off a 1/16 of an inch, I think that's pretty well done. I could have got by with 1.5 inches, but I had some of the glue joints that were kind of showing through, so I wanted everything to be nice and even. So from here, it looks real good. We're going to go on to phase 3. The next thing you want to do is you're going to want to set up your table saw for the next procedure that we're going to do. First thing you want to do is get you a saw blade that's a very fine tooth with a negative rake on it, so it gets a very clean cut, because we're going to cut cross grain now. Next, get you a scoop board, as some people call it, or it's just a sled, so that you can push your piece through the blade. And it's nothing but a piece of plywood with a hardwood runner on it, and it's just screwed to the piece of plywood with a 9-degree straight edge on it. So take your workpiece. Since we have this nice jagged edge, we've got to clean it off before that we can start ripping the pieces. So go ahead and set up your piece so that you can take off just to get this edge over here as straight as you can. All right, gotta raise my blade up a little bit. All right, just push her on through. Okay, now we've got a nice straight edge on our board. Remove your scoop board. Set back your fence. Alright, next thing, you want to position your fence to 1 5/8 inches. Our desired goal is 1.5 inches, but we're going to have to level this board once we make it. And the only way that you can level end grain is, well, I won't spoil it yet. We'll get into that soon. But 1 5/8 inches for a rough cut. And you should have plenty of stock to have enough equal blanks to do our pattern. So go ahead and start ripping those. once you get done with all your cutting, if you have a very fine tooth blade on, you should have no tear out on it, or little tear out I should say. Alright, this here is where the magic begins. Take every one of your pieces. Now I've put them all back together the way that they've been cut off on the saw. So take every one of them and flip it 9 degrees. Okay? Now then, this here is where the magic happens. Take every other one and flip it around 180 degrees. All right. And there you have your cutting board. Now I know it looks kind of random, but once this is glued up and everything's flat, it'll look gorgeous. The only thing is my dimensions on this is a little out of proportion because I forgot to take into account what my overall width was going to be, but I think it's going to be awesome. It looks like it's going to be a great cutting board. One thing I forgot to mention was the grain pattern. If you look in when we were gluing up, you could see one of the boards was in vertically, and to be honest, I didn't do that intentionally. It was kind of an accident. But you can see all of these are vertical lines. These here, and these are vertical as well. They're on the opposite interior side. But all of these are horizontal, going back and forth. And like I said, I didn't do it intentionally, but it wound up to be a great addition to this board because you get the offset contrast, and I think it looks really well, to be honest. So sometimes things don't work out for reasons that you don't expect, or for just sheer carelessness, as in my example here. But I think it's going to look awesome, especially when we get some finish on it. So time for the last glue up number 3, and it's really easy and really simple. So let's get after it. All right, once you have your boards all situated and your clamps like you like it, the thing that you're going to do is you're going to lay all your boards back 9 degrees on their side. Let's go ahead and lay them over. And except for the last one, because it's not going to get glued. So have all of them lined up like this, and take your glue and just smear it everywhere. Just put it everywhere it's got to be glued up. Should get good coverage. Better have too much glue than not enough. Alright, once you get it all done, get it where you like it, take them all and flip them back 9 degrees to the right. Now, what's key here is you want everything to be lined up as close as you can get it, because you don't want to cut any more, lateral or anything like that. So being on the spot is what you're going to need to be. Make sure you didn't get any mix-ups. You didn't put one in the wrong place. Make sure they're all alternating. Now, get your cawls again. And this time you're going to put them on the ends like so. And let's see here. Off. So, make sure these are all down good and tight. Tighten a little bit more. Remember, you don't have to tighten the snot out of it. You just want to have good contact. If you have glue coming up out of every one of your joints, you're in good shape. So one more clamp in the middle. I'll bring that sag on up. There they come. I got good glued contact there. Alright. That ought to do it. Okay. You want to sight down it and make sure that you're pretty flat. You want it to be as flat as possible if you can help it. It'd be better even if you wanted to take a caul and put it diagonally across the top and clamp it. But what I'm looking at here, everything looks real good, and I left myself a good 1/16 of an inch on both sides in case I do need to flatten it, you know, significantly. But other than that, that ought to be real swell. So once again, clamp overnight.